Professors, welcome back. We have another session on social wellness. Uh, I would like to invite Professor Sudhir CV, Professor of Music, to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. K.S. Balamuragan. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tony, sir. It's my privilege to introduce our guest speaker, Balamuragan, sir. Before going to that, I would like to thank Nancy, madam, for her wonderful session, and it was quite insightful. And so many small issues we normally face, and we feel that it is quite normal. It can be very harmful if you actually don't rectify that. That kind of message I got from her session. Thank you for that. And once again, I'm happy to introduce our guest speaker, Balamuragan sir, a proud alumni of Kikaimi Higher Secondary School. He studied his Kikaimi school from 5th standard to 12th standard, and then he's a BSc Physics degree holder from PSG College of Arts and Science. I think all the guest speakers are from the beautiful place, Coimbatore, right? The good water and everything, like, what should I say, the goodness of Tamil Nadu and the beautifulness of Kerala, the mixture of both. The people are also, I think, like that there. Okay, he is a postgraduate diploma in business administration at Annamala University, Chidambaram, and he is the managing director of Sodal Tech group of companies who are the Asia's largest manufacturers and exporters of paper conversion machines since 1970. Paper conversion machines means the machine which make the paper rolls and paper cones and all. This company has won Export Performance Award from Engineering Export Promotion Council for 21 years, and it is also a proud recipient of Jamnalal Bajaj Award for Fair Business Practices. I just tried to open their website and just want to check the CSR thing, what they are doing. But unfortunately, it's not opening, but I know that a lot of things that they're doing now. And this company has exported paper conversion machines to more 60 countries across the globe. He's an active Rotarian and was the president of Rotary Club of Coimbatore in 2003-2004. And he was also elected as a member of the National Council, Southern Regional Council, and Tamil Nadu State Council of Confederation of Indian Industry. And he is actively involved in the matters related to industrial growth in Tamil Nadu. He has widely traveled to many countries across the globe on business, and I'm happy that his hobbies are music, travel, and reading book. Music means I think he's a singer, right, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, over to you, sir. Thanks a lot for being here.
Dr. Savita, Assistant Professor and Head of Department of Social Sciences. Are you able to hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dr. Tony P. Jose, Faculty Organizer of this FDP and Assistant Professor, Department of Social Sciences, and other faculty members, fellow speakers, Dr. Nancy Kurian, Dr. Navin Kumar, Dr. Priyavadana. Very good morning to all of you. I am happy to participate in this faculty development program on psychological wellness, a practical approach, organized by the Department of Social Sciences, School of Social Sciences and Languages of a very renowned institution, VIT. First, I would like to compliment the Department of Social Sciences for organizing this FDP, and I am confident that this initiative will go a long way to enlighten the faculty members on psychological wellness, which would in turn benefit the student community at large. I understand that the audience of this FDP consists of teaching faculty from various geographical locations across the country. Naturally, this will be a mix of heterogeneous group of people. So I presume most of these faculty members will be spending their time inside the campus most of the time. And moreover, you're all living in a non-metro city like Vellore, and the scope for socializing and entertainment, etc., will be very limited. Under such circumstances, most of the time you will all be spending your time mostly preoccupied in your academic related matters, and many of you may be facing challenges in improving your interpersonal skills among colleagues as well as students. Friends, before moving on to this topic, social wellness, let me first share some of my thoughts of how our society is evolving. During the last quarter of the century, there has been a dramatic change in the social fabric of our country. You'll all be aware there has been a gradual disintegration of the joint family system and the emergence of nuclear family systems. Post-economic liberalization in 1991, in our country, lifestyles are being transformed by capitalism and aspiration. A significant section of the middle class, urban, elite, well-educated and well-paid, is choosing to have just one child in their family. A 2011 study conducted by the National Council of Applied Economic Research indicated that close to 10% of Indian households now opt only for only one child, and nearly a quarter of college educated women said they would prefer to have a single child. So what is the net result and what is happening in our society nowadays? So all these children grow without siblings. So what is the next step we could see? In all these single child families, these children are pampered a lot by their parents, and these children grow self-centered, and they don't know the joy of sharing whatever they have with others. And one more trend is emerging in our country, which is not so encouraging, which is gaining traction in our country, which is single mother households. The percentage of single mother households also is increasing, corresponding to the rate of divorces happening in our country. It is really an unfortunate development. So you will all imagine the circumstances under which these children grow. So these children will have lesser and lesser interaction with relatives. They'll have very limited friends or no friends at all in certain circumstances, growing lonely in their family, especially if both the parents are employed and if they are very career oriented and they are all busy in their professions. All the single child will be growing lonely in their households. And these type of children face a lot of life problems, and they just get mentally upset even for insignificant or minor failures in their life. They are not trained to face the pitfalls of life. So what happens under such circumstances? These children are addicted to social media. As I said, they are already pampered and all type of gadgets and all paraphernalia is provided to them. And they are addicted to the games and social media, and they run the risk of befriending the strangers in the cyber world as friends. And subsequently, they invite a lot of risks and other related problems. Just let us imagine what is happening around our life nowadays. I just want to just explain an example. Nowadays, what is happening in our social functions like weddings, which is in contrast what was happening in the early 70s and early 80s. We all go and attend weddings, already a lot of people are invited. We just walk into the wedding hall, straight away go and stand in the queue in front of the stage. We just join the line and go to the stage. We greet the couple with an artificial smile on our face. Even the couple do not know who we are, because we get lot of invitations from close relatives as well as very unknown sources also. So we just go there, pose for a photograph. We keep a artificial smile in our face. We hand over the gift or bouquet and walk down, and then straight away walk to the dining hall, have our food, and walk out of the wedding hall. I hope many of you would have experienced this. So what is happening in a social event? Very rarely we interact with people. Nowadays, there's an excuse of paucity of time that we have to hop from one wedding hall to another wedding hall. So what will happen there is, we go into the hall, we go with our families, along with our children, and even our children, even if we are seated in the hall, immediately they take their smartphones. Everybody is glued to the screens, and we do not even turn what is happening to our left side or right side. So everything is now materialistic, and everything is very artificial, and even our children are not allowed to play with other children in that particular event. We immediately rush up. So naturally, our children also do not know who are all our relatives, and there's no time for introduction, there's no time for interactions. Everything is done in a very lightning speed. I hope I'm not exaggerating, but this is what happening in the present situation. This is just an example. I am narrating you what is happening in our dynamically changing society nowadays. So what is happening due to this single child family planning and other things? These children grow, and over the next few decades, there will be youngsters in our population who may not be aware of very valuable family relationships like maternal uncle, maternal auntie, etc. In Tamil, we call Sitti, Sittappa, Thai Maman, Attai. So all these relations will slowly disappear over the next few decades. So as a result of which, we will be witnessing the emergence of a new set of generation of youngsters who will be predominant in schools, colleges, and universities. And to add to this, now the economic scenario in our country is also a matter of concern after this economic, this COVID lockdown and the other subsequent effects which that lockdown created, job loss, cut in wages and salaries, and there is financial stress in many families, and the stress of the parents is seen by the students who step into the campus. They are also stressed. So everybody is under some kind of a stress. As Dr. Nancy Kurian in her presentation narrated, the prevalence of mental illness in our country is really a matter of high concern, and even our United Nations has flagged off this growing illness in our country. Many of the people don't even realize they have some kind of an illness, and only very few go and get treatment or counseling. So in such situations, as teaching professionals, you will be encountering newer challenges during your interaction with such student community. So under these circumstances, it is high time that professionals like you get more acquainted and enlightened on social skills and adapt yourselves to the dynamically changing scenario in our society. So it is very relevant and very apt that Department of Social Sciences has chosen this topic. And though the participants of today's program is very limited, but all these take-home messages will be shared with other colleagues and other stakeholders also, so that this will be of great use to the faculty members as well as to the student community, so that we will be able to overcome all the present day challenges of this society, and we will also contribute to build a society full of happiness and well-being with healthy people in our country, so that our country also will prosper and grow. So friends, with this background note, I would like to move on to my presentation on social wellness. So what is social wellness? It is the ability to build personal connections with others, deal with conflict, be a part of social network. It is about nurturing ourselves, but also others and our relationships. Social wellness consists of not only balancing our own physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, but also actively participating as an interdependent piece of the bigger puzzle of mankind. Thus, even we care about our personal connections, we also care about the greater good of society, including our communities and the environment. So here, the next question arises: why is social wellness important? We all know, as human beings, we are social animals. That means we crave relationships because we cannot perform or do well in isolation. We have been wired to communicate with others while we coexist. Having meaningful relationship and a supportive network of friends will make you feel less lonely and less stressed. As psychologist earlier said, feelings of loneliness can detach you from the outer world and you will land up in mental depression. So hence it is very, very important to have meaningful relationships in life. The research has shown that people who do have healthy relationships and good support systems have better overall mood, deal better with the stress, and actually have increased self-esteem. See, in our daily life, we come across so many people and we encounter so many persons, and with our friends and relatives and in our friend circles, when we maintain a healthy relationship, that will boost our mood. We will have some positive energy in us and we will not encounter any negativity. We will have a positive vibration in us whenever we maintain the healthy relationship with people around us. So subsequently, we will not be having any unnecessary mental stress, and we can manage our stress in a very balanced way. And when we maintain a healthy relationship and good association with good people, naturally our self-esteem also will increase. On the other hand, look at the socially isolated people. What are all their sufferings? Socially isolated people, lonely people will have a higher rate of illness and they will have a higher rate of chronic disease. And research says that 2 to 3 times the death rate of people who are not socially isolated. So the longevity will be more with the people who have healthy and positive relationship, which we have to bear it in our mind. There are many different ways to maintain social wellness, and one important way is self-care. So there are different methods, and we should seek out positive relationship which should be reciprocal. Normally now we get lot of friends, we develop friendships, but those type of friendship should also help us and we must also help them. It should be in a reciprocal manner. Sometimes some friendships may harm us, so we should stay away from such type of harmful relationship. So first we have to follow self-care. Not only the self-care is about friendship or relationship, it's also taking care of our own body and mind, that we have to first take care of ourselves. For example, if you are a head of a family, first you have to take care of your health, both physical health and mental health. The same will be applying to the housewives or the working women also. Sometimes, especially in our country, women folk, they never bother about their own taking care of their own physical and mental health. They only struggle too much for maintaining their family, taking care of their husband, taking care of the children, and they forget to, or they just avoid taking care of their own health. So the self-care is very important. And another aspect is good communication with positive related people. Sometimes we develop a relationship. For example, we have a lot of relatives, we have a lot of friends, but imagine how much time we spend in communicating with them or exchanging some messages. After this advent of digital communications and digital gadgets, everything is again becoming artificial. We just forward some messages, but are we making meaningful communication? In those days, we used to write letters to relatives, but times have changed. I'm not saying that we must start writing letters, but using the latest method of communications, why not we maintain that relationship in a very meaningful manner? We should be in constant touch with our friends and relatives, and we must maintain that communication in a proper manner. So that is also a part of social wellness. And another challenge which we people face is balancing between our work and life, the work-life balance. Everybody is having a busy schedule, and we are not able to spend quality time with our family due to our preoccupation in our own professions. So we have to follow certain ways and means to achieve the balance between work and life. We have to make time for friends and family. As I earlier said, we should be in constant touch with our friends, and we must devote some quality time to our own family. We used to say in any activity, family comes first, then business, then recreation, and then social service. If this order is maintained, you will be stress-free and you will be having a very holistic quality of living. But some people change this order. They don't care for the family, but they'll be very busy in their family business matters, earning money, or sometimes too much of social service or too much of recreations. But if the order changes, then there will be problems. So we must maintain that order and devote some time for maintaining the friendship and relationship with friends and relatives and our family members, and to develop a hobby. So in this faculty, the music department professor is there. Singing is a very nice hobby. It's a stress-busting hobby. Similarly, whatever is your passion, you develop a passion For example, if you are into fitness, if you are a fitness freak, you can plan to join a fitness class rather than going to the gym yourself, where you will get acquaintance of your like-minded people, and you can socialize with such like-minded people, and as a result, this will boost up your endorphin levels. So this is what I would like to enlighten about how to balance between work and life. And I'm also willing to give you some important tips to achieve social wellness. Keep an open heart, because we do not want any emotional strain when we maintain some relationships, because the social interactions around you should be healthy. Actually, when you want to make new friends, this point you have to bear it in mind. See, initially, when you nurture a friendship, there may be some, you have to cut the ice, there'll be some mental blocks, you have to overcome that. First meetings may often be chaotic, but do not be put off by certain opinions the other person may have, and you develop that way of acceptance. You accept that the other person also has the right to disagree with you. So that is an important point when you want to achieve a social wellness. The next important thing is cut off toxic people in your life. Because nowadays, see, especially after this advent of social media, people go and spend most of time in their Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. And there we encounter a lot of people and we meet so many people there. But remember, in such social media and other things, lot of negativity, trolling and other things are going on. So we must be very cautious to develop new friendship under such circumstances, because it will cause a lot of emotional trauma. We often don't realize this, and we let ourselves be manipulated. So remember to surround yourself with good people, and it is also a form of self-care. You try to move with people with the positivity and avoid this hate propaganda, or don't follow them, and all these activities of polarization in the name of religion, caste, creed, color. So much of things are happening in the social media, and both adults and youngsters spend most of the time in social media, and these type of trolling and other messages make us very gloomy, or we catch negative energy. So better to cut off such toxic people in our life. Then we have to fix the boundaries, to which extent, to what extent we can maintain our relationship with our friends, because some relationships in our life consume too much of our energy and time. So let us not lose focus. So let us be very clear and very practical in having our friendship with selected people. So we also have to try to maintain a balance on this aspect. That is, we have to know our limits. Too much of socializing also will be harmful. So that is a healthy balance we must maintain. So having explained some thoughts about the social wellness, I would also like to touch upon the topic personal skills. See, we know hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills, nothing but our academic knowledge and our academic skills. Whereas in soft skills, you have the intangible qualities or traits that will really enhance your interactions, because your personal skills shape not only your professional trajectory but your private life as well. So under soft skills, you have this communication skills, flexibility, self-discipline, self-reflection, teamwork, time management, empathy, and ability to accept or take criticism. So let us talk about these things for some time. There are various types of personal skills: critical thinking, problem solving, flexible or dependable, then interpersonal skills, motivation. So what is critical thinking? See, we encounter so much of problems in our day-to-day life or in our profession. How do we solve those problems? What are all the tools to be used to solve those problems when we encounter them? We must use our creative thinking to make informed decisions whenever we face such problems. We must be also aware that critical thinkers are useful in every field, whether it be healthcare or engineering field or teaching profession, because you need to understand the problems, analyze it, think critically, and devise practically possible solutions. One must possess the traits of creativity, curiosity, desire to learn, logical thinking, and thinking outside the box. See, learning is never-ending process till our end of our life, because the world is dynamically changing, the technology is changing, and new technologies are being introduced. And we must have that desire to learn, because we must not close our mind, or there's no limitation for learning. So we must always have that urge or that fire in us to learn continuously. It's a continual process. Then we must also adopt the practice of logical thinking, how to encounter that problem and what will be the practical solution for such problems. And we should have that type of skill in us. And of course, the thinking outside the box is the new mantra everywhere, whether it be a management or in any walk of life. So that must also be practiced. We must have a very focused attention on that. And the next one is problem solving. In every job we have that problem solving. We must adopt the problem solving techniques. So we must be able to effectively identify that problem and try to find a solution and make informed decisions. While making such decisions or while analyzing such problems, we must keep our emotions at bay. See, if you take any decisions based on our emotions, we are likely to go wrong. So with an open mind, we must approach the problems. There, our emotions or the feelings at that particular point of time should not interfere your decision-making process. You must have a very realistic understanding of the problem and try to find a solution. With your intuition, logic, and innovative thinking, you will be able to find the best solution. So we must practice that also. The next one is flexible or dependable. Friends, we must understand here that dependability and flexibility work in tandem. You know, flexible employees are always dependable and vice versa. In any organization, such employees are valuable assets. And organizations prefer people with reliability, responsibility, and trustworthiness. Persons will be able to adapt to change and also help their colleagues. We see in many organizations, some employees or some staff will show some resistance for any changes that are introduced by the management. And such type of people will be an hindrance, not only for the growth of the organization, but for the growth of other colleagues, and to establish a teamwork, they will be an hindrance. So those type of people will not help the growth of an organization. So we must develop that habit of understanding and accepting the changes. The next one is interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are nothing but soft skills. Sorry, people skills. Here, the main thing is how you interact with your colleagues, the workplace, and how the flow of communication take place. Whether the communication is two-way and whether it is made in a proper manner. How you communicate with and interact with those around you matters here. And all organizations prefer people who are compatible with the other employers, with their employees, their colleagues and clients. Because you, as an employee in an organization, he will have to interact not only with the management, but also with the clients and also with the fellow colleagues. So we must develop that articulate way of approach where you must present the facts or information in a well articulated manner. And attentiveness, you must be focused and attentive in analyzing matters. Considerate, show consideration to your colleagues and co-workers. What do they, you give due consideration for their feelings. And another important thing is empathy. This is also a very important thing under this interpersonal skills. And the sense of humor. This will also help you a lot in maintaining your interpersonal relationship, not only in your workplace, but also in your society. And you have to understand how these our other co-workers or colleagues react, and accordingly you must handle them. So that is also an important point. We must bear it in our mind. Friends, being a good listener is a key to being a strong communicator. We must listen what others say. Then only we can handle that issue properly and come out with the proper solutions. So being a listener also is a very important trait, and listening is a very important skill in customer service, human resource management, teaching profession, and in all leadership positions. So these points I would like to emphasize on this interpersonal skills. The next personal skill is the motivation. Dr. Nancy Kurian, in her presentation, she was highlighting about the two set of students, intrinsically motivated students and extrinsically motivated students. So under this motivation, say employers seek employees who are positive and passionate about their jobs and strongly motivated, not only for just for money and glory, but they must be more pleasant to work with and be trustworthy in the eye of employers. See, this trustworthiness and loyalty is becoming a rare commodity nowadays. So many organizations look for people who have that trustworthiness and loyalty. And the motivation comes from various directions. Say, you must have that ambition to grow in your life, and you should have that urge and the dedication to perform the job to the satisfaction of your higher authorities or your boss. And you must be determined to achieve the targets set to you, and you have to develop the energy to accomplish that. And you must have an optimistic outlook and a positive outlook that yes, I can achieve this, I can get the result. And there should be a strong work ethic in an ethical way, in a honest manner, that is with integrity. We must perform our duties. So that will also help a lot in increasing the productivity in any organization. Then we must have that visionary outlook. What will be in store for us in the next 5 years or the next 10 years? So that type of motivation also is very important. Friends, I would like to also move on to the next personal skill, which is time management, which is really required for a country like India. Still, in India, in a country like ours, time management is still under learning process only. Many occasions and many meetings, the meetings are not begun at the punctual time. So it is cumulatively, it is getting delayed, and ultimately the value of time is not given much of an importance in our country. And this also has a telling effect on the overall productivity, not only in the business, but also in our country's productivity. So we must closely give our attention and focus on time management, which is a very important personal skill. So there are various time management principles which I would like to discuss here. And being effectively able to manage your time is essential for any job. See, in this digital age, many people face various challenges in managing their time due to many distractions, due to these digital gadgets like smartphone, computers, laptops, and getting addicted to social media, and time and again checking for email notifications or WhatsApp notifications. And we must identify all such time wasting distractions, and we must have a self-control on such usage. And here I would like to highlight some effective time management principles. Determine what is urgent. That is, you prioritize the tasks. There may be a set of tasks in front of you, but we must learn to prioritize. You give priority, what is to be accomplished immediately, what can be done the next day, what can be done in the next week, what can be done after 10 or 15 days. Like that, we must learn to give priority and prioritize the task. Otherwise, you will be ending up in big mess. Then overcommitting. See, sometimes in some organizations, for the fear of the higher authorities or our boss, we just commit something. At that moment of time, we just say yes, okay, I will do it, without thinking or without understanding whether it can be done or not. So don't ever do such overcommitment. Then we must allow time for the unexpected or unforeseen turn of events or last minute surprises when we plan a task. Handle things one at a time. Though multitasking, some people practice, but it is always better to focus on one thing at a time and accomplish it properly instead of having too many tasks partially finished. Then this setting the deadlines. Here also many people make pitfalls. See, in a country like ours, we have a lot of surprises. See, I am also in the industry field. We face a lot of problems in meeting our deadlines for making the machinery and delivering our machines, because we are also depending on our vendors and suppliers. And especially after this pandemic COVID lockdown, there is a big disruption in the supply chain system, and we have to take into account so many other unforeseen happenings happen down the supply chain. So taking in all those into account, we must set realistic deadlines. Otherwise, if you set a deadline which is not practically possible, then it will be ending up in a big confusion and again it will be unnecessary mental stress only. Then we must set the goals in a properly planned manner, whether it is in business or in our professional or the financial planning, whatever it is. We must set the goal, what I'm going to do this year, what I'm going to do after 2 years, after 5 years, and the timeline for that. So that is also an important part of the time management. Again, I would like to emphasize on how to eliminate or minimize distractions. That is, you start your day with a clear focus. See, nowadays many people immediately when they get up from the bed, they look at the smartphones for messages, and immediately our mind is distracted. They go into the social media, and lot of time is wasted. So your quality time and your energy level will be very high in the early mornings. So we must not allow such distractions when we have a very quality time for ourselves for some physical exercise or for doing some yoga and other meditation like that. So we must try to minimize such distractions. We must set a timeline for checking the emails, for checking the WhatsApp messages, or spending some quality time on a useful social media instead of just wasting our time by flittering away our precious time in such activities. Here, this outsourcing our task or delegation of our task is very, very important to manage time. Many people make the mistake. They want to do everything on their own, but they don't delegate to the other subordinates. Actually, we have to leave specific activities to your subordinates. See, in this outsourcing topic, I would like to quote a kural from Tirukkural. Idhanai idhanal ivan mudikkum endraaythu, adanai avan kan vidar. I think most of the participants will understand this kural. I just like to translate it. See, the merits of this kural are that it can be used to gain knowledge of psychometrics, that is selection and delegation. The challenges of proper delegation are to identify the tasks, the required methods, and the right person to execute the task. These three management mantras are very beautifully explained in this two-line Tirukkural, which we should bear it in mind. Idhanai idhanal ivan mudikkum endraaythu, adanai avan kan vidar. So like that, we must try to delegate our jobs and get things done so that our subordinates also will get more hands-on experience, and they will also enrich their knowledge, and they will be an asset to any organization. So we must try to delegate the tasks. Then very important thing is we must have time for ourselves for fun and play. Life should not be very monotonous and very serious affair. We must have some hobbies, some recreation. We must have some time for humor, and for if you are having some, if you are fitness freaks, we must have some fitness sports. We must spend time for that. That is very important, so that holistically you will have a very good time management tricks you can learn. So friends, to sum up, I once again wish to highlight how important is social wellness. People who have healthy relationships and a strong social network tend to live longer and respond better to stress. Lot of research have proved that people who have lot of good friends, they live longer, and because they are able to share their thoughts, and they can share the difficult times, and they can get comfort and moral support from good friends, in contrast to people who do not have meaningful friendship or who just be an introvert. So we should have a strong social network to have a quality life. And naturally, what will happen when the stress is reduced, when the anxiety is reduced, then you will have a healthier endocrine system and a healthier cardiovascular functioning and an enhanced immune system. So overall, your physical and mental health will improve when your social wellness also improves. So as a result, what will happen when a citizen has a good quality of life, when a citizen is healthy in both in his body and mind, the society also will be benefited at large. And when the society is also healthy, the nation also will be healthy and nation also will be full of happiness. In turn, it will also improve the economy of the nation also, because when lot of the non-communicable diseases like diabetes and this hypertension is all part of this modern day stress. So our expenses on medical care can be controlled, and the surplus money can be put into a meaningful usage if you follow these type of tips for social wellness. Friends, understanding the holistic meaning of life, I wish to quote the famous poet, Tamil poet Kannadasan. He's a famous lyricist of thousands of songs in Tamil films. He penned a very popular song in which he says, வாழ்க்கை என்றால் ஆயிரம் இருக்கும், வாசல் தோறும் வேதனை இருக்கும், வந்த துன்பம் எதுவென்றாலும் வாடி நின்றால் ஓடுவதில்லை, எதையும் தாங்கும் இதயம் இருந்தால் இறுதி வரைக்கும் அமைதி இருக்கும். For those of you who cannot follow Tamil, let me give the English translation of these lines. Life brings up thousands of challenges. Every home has its own pains and sorrows. Whatever suffering you face, it will never disappear just by remaining dejected and feeling gloomy. But have a heart with forbearance to face all hardships. You will have everlasting peace in your life. In short, count your blessings. Friends, let me conclude at this point. Once again, I would like to sincerely thank the organizers for giving me this rare opportunity of participating in FTP faculty development program of a very renowned and prestigious university like VIT. I also thank Dr. Nancy Kurian for organizing this in coordination with Dr. Tony. I sincerely hope that my presentation would have been very useful, would have been found very useful, and would have served the purpose of this FDP today. I once again thank everybody for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Balamurugan sir, for your inspiring talk. So professors, it's a time for a discussion. If you have any queries, please.
Sir, I have a query.
Please.
Yes, sir. Please.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, it's regarding this habit of procrastinating things. For example, I have a habit of doing this. I will just procrastinate things like, oh, I will do it tomorrow. I'll just keep it for one more day, especially when it comes to paper evaluation of our subjects. Okay, I'm still pending around 60 papers I have, and the last date is today. So how can we avoid this habit of procrastinating things?
Yeah, well, this procrastination is a very universal problem, sir. Actually, it is a human tendency. That is mainly because of the distractions what we have in the present day. See, our human mind is distracted by so many things which is happening around us. And when we try to engage in a task, see, nowadays we have these gadgets near us, the smartphones, the notifications, all these things we distract our mind. So again, what will happen? We immediately have a tendency to look at it. Then some time will be spent on that. Then this task will be pending. So by the time when you switch over from that mood to this mood, again you have to regain that energy and attend that task. So naturally, we feel bored. So we say our human mind is also tuned. See, now after this advent of all this latest technology, our human brain gains lot of pleasure on such activities, this type of social media and other disturbances. So to avoid this procrastination, what I practice is I note down what I have to do every day. We have a form-like thing. Even I can even show in the camera. See, I have a form like this, things to do. So we write that day today and jot down one by one in the order of importance. So while we complete the task, we make a tick mark. So that also encourages that we have attained some task. So we give a self encouragement to us. Okay, this task I have attained. Whereas if you don't do that, too many tasks will be piling up. So we will never complete. Even reading books also like that only. See, people go to book fairs and buy a lot of books, but most of the books will be in the shelf only.
Very true.
I think most of us would have encountered that problem. And within 1 week, if you don't read that book, in your lifetime, you will never read it. Many people, I think many of you also would have undergone that experience. So to avoid procrastination, we have to do prioritizing. We have to allot the importance to the task, which is needed urgently, which can be attended after a few hours or after a few days. Then we will not have that procrastination habit. I hope I am clear.
Yes, sir. I recently started doing that. You can see the board, the whiteboard behind me. Yeah. I recently started doing this, and it's quite effective.
Even that yellow notes, no, the 3M notes, remaining notes which we write and stick it on. That is stick note.
Yes.
See, imagine that stick note principle introduced by the 3M company in USA. With that, imagine for that reminder notes, that company is making billions of dollars. So that is a business opportunity they developed so many years ago. These Americans. The 3M company is a Fortune 500 company.
Wow.
So like that, we must note down. Even if you don't have the stick notes, you write in a diary.
Correct.
Nowadays, who writes diary? When I write a diary, people look at me. I am an old timer. Everything cannot be accomplished by electronic gadgets. When you write on a paper, the functioning of your brain will be always better. I think psychologists will agree with me. When you write anything on a white paper, that will also you remember well, and it will also boost up your thinking and creativity instead of doing everything digitally or electronically. This is my own personal experience. I don't know about others, but youngsters may feel I am an old timer, but this is what I practice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Professors, any other queries? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And professors, any other queries? Naveen Kumar sir, Nilavati ma'am, Rashmi ma'am, others please. Usha ma'am, any other queries?
I don't have any queries, sir, because the lecture was very clearly explained.
All right.
Thank you.
So I would like to invite Professor Sudhir CV to deliver vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Sir, Balamurugan sir, it was a very insightful, wonderful session. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole session. when Tony Pijos called me yesterday and said about this FDP, the first thing was, another FDP on a Saturday, my family time. Oh, I will be missing that family time. And again, I was thinking about this work-life balance, what you mentioned in this session, that if I wouldn't have come for the session, I would have really missed so many things. It was wonderful about messages about self-care, work-life balance, and this interpersonal skills, and this problem solving and critical thinking, and all that very, very interesting. And some of them are very tough to practice. Still, we should practice that. So the discipline, even when I see the picture you are in your camera, you're sitting, you're behind. I can see the parents and the deities you believe, and the discipline what you follow. It's very clear from the picture itself. So we are so. What should I say? So grateful to you have here, and thanks a lot for this wonderful session again. Thank you, sir.